Young, up fake, and Pirtle. What a job stepping up and getting the block. OG Street with the thunderous slam.
Oh my word. Taking it right upstairs. Didn't care who was in front of him.
6-point game. Young. Again denied. Pirtle says no. Scottie B flying around. Press the foul with the acrobatic win. And it's all going right on a Wednesday night.
Finally, a win! Ladies and gentlemen, the Toronto Raptors snapped their 4-game losing streak with an offensive explosion against the Atlanta Hawks, winning 135-128 with impressive performances from virtually all of their starters, especially their trio of Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, and of course, Scottie Barnes.
I think obviously like you lose some games in a row. Yeah, like we just gotta have a sense of urgency to come into the game. Just go out there and like try to do everything that we can to get a win.
I think the trust is obviously like it's earned, not given. So we got to earn that trust. We got to earn that respect. So far, like we've had good stretches. We had bad stretches. I think it's one of those situations where like we don't want to overreact. Like we think, or I think we saw that the lineup can definitely work. We had a little tough stretch right there where we couldn't really figure it out. Like we're down, maybe our confidence was down a little bit, the energy was down a little bit, but yeah, I think I kind of see it his way. Like I think the lineup can definitely work, and we've seen it.
It was clear from the onset that the Raptors were going to be able to get anything they wanted against the smaller Hawks team, missing a few of their wing defenders. Pascal Siakam scored 24 of his final 33 points in the first half of the game, and the Raptors as a whole kept up with the Hawks' potent offense. Still, their defense was having trouble with Trae Young, who put up 20 of his 35 points in the first 2 quarters and dished out 10 assists, carving up the Raptors via the pick and roll. It was clear that whichever team was going to start playing defense first would win the game.
Very talented offensive team, but they had some holes on defense, and we tried to attack that. And tonight, like I said, it really helped that we made our outside shots as well. It's obviously a very tough action to guard because Trae Young is coming off those screens, and he's fast coming off, but he's able to pull up from deep and stuff like that. So you're kind of caught between staying with the roller and like trying to help the guard with the coverage. I mean, I just try to make a play, to be honest. Like I saw him, like I thought he was pulling up for the floater, and I saw an opportunity, so I went for it.
In the third quarter, the Raptors had their own offensive explosion, knocking down 9 threes and jumping out to a 14-point lead. In fact, the Raptors as a whole were on fire from 3 tonight, knocking down 18 of their 34 3-point attempts, with 6 different players knocking down at least 1. Maybe most notably, Pascal Siakam hit 5 threes tonight, the first time he's knocked down multiple threes in a game since November 1st, and was in rhythm in all areas offensively. But in that quarter, it was the Raptors' defense that helped them lock in, particularly the efforts of Dennis Schroeder and Precious Chua in defending Trae Young.
I think for the most part, like we were solid into like the principles that you know the coaches want us to have out there in the game. I thought we did it a lot better. I thought we trusted it a little bit more. I thought we communicate well, which I feel like that's something that we got to do better. And it's just like I always say, it's like the character of our team. Like we have a lot of like just quiet people, so it's like we go out there in the game, like we had to find a way to like energize each other, find a way to like communicate to each other, like and I thought we did that like better today.
There was some miscommunication early in the game that got Trae Young going with his threes, a couple of pick and rolls guard that we did not do a good enough job. I thought second half he did much better in that aspect.
And despite the Hawks making this one interesting in the fourth quarter and fighting back valiantly with some timely shots and their own offensive explosion, the Raptors pulled out the win to snap a 4-game losing streak. Pascal Siakam finished with 33 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists on 19 shots. Scottie Barnes puts up 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists on 14 shots. And OG Anunoby put up 22 points on 13 shots, and 3 other Raptors also scored in double figures. Ultimately, despite the impressive offensive night, this game was won on the defensive end for the Raptors. And I know that might come as a surprise, given the fact that they still allowed the Hawks to score 128 points, but it was their second half defense that looked much more locked in, and a key adjustment from Darko Rajakovic helped them get this W. So let's dive into the film room and give Precious Achiuwa some love. So Trae Young was giving the Raptors problems pretty much all game. The pick and roll was where he was operating. It's where he operates at his best. And I think Jakob Poeltl struggled in this one. It wasn't the perfect matchup for him just because Trae could turn the corner, explode, and get to the basket. And if Jakob was kind of leaning in too much to Trae, then he could throw it over the top for a lob, and he got caught on those a lot. It was more of a Precious Achiuwa matchup, and I think Achiuwa really changed the course of this game in the third quarter with his defense. Let's take a look. So just for some examples of why Jakob struggled in this, kind of containing Trae in space. This time he's too late to the roller. Clint Capella gets a wide open dunk. A little later on, this time they run the same thing, high pick and roll. Capella gets the lob over top. This time it's a side screen and roll, but because Jakob is so afraid of the lob over the top, he gives Trae space. Now Trae misses this, but that's going to be a layup most times, likely. And this time, Jakob drops back too deep, and so the Raptors are forced to foul. Trae goes to the line. So essentially, you get my point. Jakob struggled in this one defensively. He had some big moments, especially in the fourth quarter, but for the most part, it wasn't his matchup defensively. It was Precious Achiuwa's, who is much more of a switch big, can switch out onto these smaller guards and kind of contain himself in those moments. And yeah, he was really, really special. Let's get into it. Good example here where Precious steps up and is still able to recover for the block on Onyeka Okongwu. Same idea here. They run a staggered pick and roll. He is able to anticipate the pass over the top, gets the steal. And this is where Precious is really special against a guy like Trae. So they get the switch. Precious is now in space against Trae Young, and instead of Trae blowing past him, he is able to opt for the step back three. You'll take that over the 6'9" outstretched arms of Precious Achiuwa. And the great thing is that Precious is also great just as the low man. So here, Scottie gets blown by. He's able to recover, get the block on Clint Capella, stay there, be a big body, not force Capella into a tough shot, and the Raptors get a stop on this possession. So watch how Precious guards this pick and roll. First of all, Onyeka slips into a pin down for Bogdan. Precious shows on that pin down, is able to recover back to Onyeka and still get the deflection on Bogdan there. That's just tons of activity, and because he's such a mobile big man, he's able to be in multiple positions at once. And these were the possessions that really stood out. So Trae hunts out Precious Achiuwa in the pick and roll. He gets the switch. And I have to be, specific here. This is Precious Achiuwa, a guy who is 6'9", much heavier, much taller than Trae Young, sticking with a guy who is 6 foot tall at best, very, very quick, one of the fastest players in the NBA, and forcing the stop. Just to show you that it wasn't fluke, the very next offensive possession for the Hawks, Trae does the exact same thing, and it ends up in a stop. Precious is able to contain Trae on the drive. He forces him to fumble the ball because of his size and length, and it is a turnover for the Hawks. The Raptors are out and running. And ultimately, I think that changed the game. I thought when Trae wasn't able to exploit in the pick and roll as much, it really changed the way that they were approaching the game offensively. Yes, they got back into it in the fourth quarter with some really, really nice shooting from Bogdan Bogdanovic, but for the most part, I thought they limited Trae pretty well in that second half, and Precious and Dennis Schroeder, especially at the point of attack, were a main reason they did that. Very, very great game game from Precious. He's stacking up really good games recently. Seems like he's in rhythm. Obviously, the offense is something that will have to develop and grow. He's had moments throughout these games where he's knocking down threes. He hit a 3 tonight. He's hitting these shots. He's getting in stride. I love when Precious is this catch and go big man offensively, and I think defensively he adds this element for the Raptors. So Jakob is more of a conventional big man, right? He can play the conventional deep drop for you. Yes, he can kind of hedge and recover and get back to his spot and be in multiple places at once type of thing, but not as good as Precious Achiuwa. And I just think it's more of a matchup dependent thing for the Raptors that they'll have to assess as the season goes on. There are going to be certain matchups that are favorable for Jakob Poeltl. His size, 7'2", being this big body that can kind of impose his will in the interior. And then there are going to be other matchups like tonight where Precious Achiuwa's speed, his versatility, his lateral quickness at the big man spot is needed, and he absolutely thrived. We've got the Hawks again on Friday night. I will be at the game doing a story. And yes, Hawks again, so we'll see if they can do this. The Hawks are also now losers of 5 in a row, so they need to get into the win column, and maybe the Raptors can stop that once again. So we will see what happens. Maybe the Raptors... The other thing I'll say is that Darko Rajakovic tweaked his rotation in this game, putting Dennis Schroeder and Pascal Siakam with the bench in the second half of the third quarter. That's usually the time when Scottie Barnes and OG Anunoby are dominating those bench lineups. They opted to have Pascal and Schroeder do that. So I wonder if they end up doing that more. I'm kind of curious because, you know, Darko Rajakovic, he's been pressed over the last couple of days about lineup changes, about rotation changes. He said maybe we'll see in the next couple of games. We saw a glimpse of it today in the second half. Maybe they do more of that as the season progresses. We'll see. Yes, so they have the Hawks on Friday. I will be there. Tap into the Objective Basketball Podcast. As always, we have another episode coming out on Friday morning, and we will see you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.